All right. I think I'm actually live the right way now. Am I? I am. Guys, first timer here, figuring it out. So I wanted to go through this new CrowdStrike annual report that they do. Sorry, I'm still figuring out if I'm live here. Here we go. Yeah, it says I'm good. Cool. Let's put this right there. And chat is over here. Testing chat out. Yeah, cool. All right, I think it all works. So, I am writing my newsletter for the week, and I needed to go through this threat intel report anyway. It's going to take me a while. So I said, why don't I just freaking go on live, test that out, see how that all goes, and we'll go through this threat intel report together. So, if you are unfamiliar with my obsession with cybersecurity companies that have giant, unique piles of data and then put out annual reports, it's one of my favorite things on the planet. CrowdStrike is a gigantic company. We see if they push a bad update, a bunch of freaking planes get grounded because they pushed a bad update. So that's how widespread they are. So they're installed literally everywhere. If you're unfamiliar, they're like an endpoint detection tool. So their whole job, they're kind of like the modern day antivirus, if you have absolutely no idea. Why do I have a warning? Sorry, it's yelling at me. It says warning. Oh, it's like a bitrate thing or something. All right, well, hopefully I'm not too slow or anything like that. You can let me know. If there's anyone here watching eventually, you can let me know if this is coming through all right. So they put out this big annual report. I have not read it yet. So there's going to be a blind reading of this report. And I saw some clips of like interesting stats that some people have been talking about going into kind of adversary behavior over the last year. Super, super interesting. So we're gonna read it. We're gonna read it blind. I needed to read it to write about it tonight for my newsletter anyway. So we're doing it live. So right off the bat, our latest research demonstrates that adversaries are becoming more efficient, focused, and business-like in their approach. In many ways, more like the enterprise organizations they prey upon. That's why our team of security analyst experts and authors chose the enterprising adversary as the theme for this year's report. That's cool. Yeah, I agree with that assessment. We're seeing a whole lot more in kind of just like the straight up way that ransomware is going about things. It's not just like APT government espionage type stuff. People are making a buck. I mean, look at freaking North Korea and their hauls, their crypto hauls. Oh shit. Hold on. I'm just gonna make a really bad VOD because I am figuring out my life here. Thought I was going to be able to plug in a second monitor with my iPad, but it just died. So, yeah, we just saw North Korea make off with like $1.5 billion in crypto in one of the biggest hacks ever. So I completely agree that people are becoming way more enterprising. If you're hopping in here at all, this is my first time going on YouTube Live. Especially first time going. I used to live stream a few years ago on Twitch from a different machine in a different setup. So first timer. So if you do hop in and you're hearing this, if you could just like shout and chat that like shit all looks normal and stuff like that, that'd be cool. Okay, so the enterprising adversary is the theme of the report. I like that. I am interested. I see LLMs. I'm interested to see what they say about adversaries' use on LLMs. Google put out some interesting stats on how APTs are using Gemini specifically. And a lot of it was just in like the ways that, what LLMs are good at, which is really just like the natural English language. So, um, that makes a lot of sense. They were like using it to build resumes, cover letters, apply for jobs, trying to like debug code and stuff like that. There is guardrails in LLMs that like make it so that a lot of the public ones won't let you straight up easily write like malware and things like that. But I don't know. I've seen some people get around those guardrails super easily. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some growing use among adversaries using LLMs. All right, so easy access to commercial LLMs is making adversaries more productive. It's shortening their learning curve and development cycles, allowing them to increase the scale and pace of their activities. Though this report indicates that malicious use of AI is growing, it remains largely iterative and evolutionary at this point in time, but occasionally does manifest as entire novel use case. Yeah. Okay, this makes sense. We're seeing reports of them use it, but they're using it the same way like I'm using it. Like, hey, I'm a shitty developer and maybe they're a shitty developer. And so they're using it to try to be less shitty developers. Okay, makes sense. But being a less shitty developer doesn't necessarily mean you're like the next super hacker, right? So I can see how that's the case. And yeah, we're not seeing like a ton of people are using AI directly impacting security incidents these days. Seeing it in debugging code, building like fake personas, things like that. That makes sense. We aren't waiting for the threat actors to experience their next aha moment. We're accelerating our own use of AI, from our foundational machine learning capabilities to our leading edge generative and agentic AI models. Word of the year, huh? I've talked to so many founders. I've seen a few startups straight up pivot their entire company and just abandon what they were doing and all of a sudden become agentic AI startups. So yeah, not surprised. Probably can make it a drinking game of which companies don't use the word agentic AI in any sort of annual report or shareholder meeting or anything like that. You got to imagine they're all going to have whatever that story is. To help our customers anticipate the next zero-day attacks in advance and proactively inoculate themselves against them. This is the essence of an AI native approach to cyber defense. Unlike legacy systems, which are still relied upon by organizations globally, we don't sit idle until an attack occurs before we can identify and stop it. Okay, fine, makes sense. The job of protecting an organization continues to get harder by the day. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't care. I want threat intel. Some key facts we should know about the shifting threat landscape. Okay, drinking game, chat. There's no one in chat. I'm talking to myself. Drinking game. Anytime we hear threat landscape, drink. Breakout time. How long it takes for an adversary to start moving laterally across your network reached an all-time low. The average fell to 48 minutes. The fastest breakout time we observed dropped to a mere 51 seconds. What does that mean? Adversary to start moving laterally across your network. Breakout. So breakout from initial box to second box, 51 seconds. I mean, it sounds impressive. That could just be like a really crappy AWS config flat network, just moved from one box to the next. Sure. I'm not sure this is speaking to capability enhancement or just like one of our customers really didn't have anything segmented whatsoever. IAM, never heard of her. All right, voice phishing. Don't hard dislike all the ishing words. Just call it voice phishing or just call it phishing. It's just phishing, but okay, voice. Phishing attacks where adversaries call victims to amplify their activities with persuasive social engineering techniques saw an explosive 442% growth between the first and second half of 2024. That's pretty crazy. That's kind of nuts. So that's a really big number. And that's just in the year. So between the first half and the second half of 2024, we saw over a 5x. increase in phishing attacks. I'm trying to think if I've reported on, I mean, I've definitely reported on phishing attacks, but that's like a really drastic increase. Okay, I want to read that section of this report and see what they attribute that to. Is that like a particular campaign or threat actor that just went nuts on this? I could see that. I know the Scattered Spider crew was really big on SMS. They comboed it with phishing, with voice stuff, but they were really big on SMS. That was a couple years ago, though. 2022? 2. Attacks related to initial access boomed, accounting for 52% of vulnerabilities observed by CrowdStrike in 2024. Providing access as a service became a thriving business as advertisements for access brokers increased 50% year over year. All right, this is wild. This is straight up reading like an end of the year shareholder meeting, right? So it kind of makes sense. The enterprising threat actor, completely agree, right? So 50% year over year increase in initial access vulnerabilities and then being sold. So they're advertising initial access. So if you're unfamiliar with this means, there are hackers that specialize in gaining access to devices or companies, and then they don't use that access. They just pop the box, they just pop into the company, and then they either rent or sell that access. So they just sit there and don't do anything. And then they'll turn around and then put out an advertisement that says, hey, we've got, 1,300 routers that we can sell you access to for, the low price of $1 per box or whatever the hell it is, right? So they're saying the advertisements for access brokers increased 50% year over year, which would then correlate probably to the initial access being more successful as well. That makes sense. Among nation states, China, I don't know what China Nexus means. Activity surged 150% overall. Not shocked, right? We talk about typhoon stuff a lot, with some targeted industries suffering 200 to 300% more attacks than the previous years. Some industries getting targeted. So I'm going to guess when we get to that section of the report, this is going to be critical infrastructure. We saw the typhoons attacking water plants a ton in 2024, and I don't think that I had reported on that a ton in the past. That's what I'm guessing we're going to see for this. And then, China is just going all in. So this makes sense. Gen AI played a pivotal role in sophisticated cyber attack campaigns. I disagree because, as we just said, they are getting more productive, but critical role, I don't know. It enabled famous Kalima to create highly convincing fake IT jobs. Yeah, okay. We talked about this, but is it a pivotal role? I don't know. So North Korea is getting hired left and right in like fake worker schemes. So, and even just from the Google Gemini report, we saw that that's how a ton of threat actors are actually using Gemini, is to just create these personas. It helped infiltrate. It helped China, Russia, and Iran affected on. Oh, cool. Thanks. Thank you. China, Russia, and Iran affiliated threat actors conduct AI-driven disinformation and influence campaigns. Yeah, again, pivotal role in sophisticated cyber attacks. Overselling it helped some people create believable resumes to get hired, sure. And then, obviously we've been seeing it do some crazy disinformation stuff, but they were already doing all this disinformation crap before AI. So I'd be interested in some stats on like what AI actually did to like Russian disinformation campaigns, which, I mean, well before any AI tech came out, we were seeing that stuff. As with every product and service we provide, we hope working together. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's see. Yeah, naming conventions. Sick that we have to do this based on everyone who puts out threat intel has different names, so we'd have to get on the same page if we were talking about key adversary themes, business of social engineering. We saw the vishing stuff. I'm interested in learning that. Gen AI. Yeah, okay. They just had to include this section. Cloud conscious threat actors. I don't know what that means. We'll see. Enterprising vulnerability exploitation, SaaS exploitation. Okay. We already covered 2024 was the year of enterprising adversary. E-crime adversaries exemplified constantly adapting and shifting threat environments and quickly scaling effective operations. Throughout 2024, initial access techniques began to shift. E-crime adversaries began moving away from phishing to alternative access methods. Okay, well, that's interesting because we just saw a 400 and something % increase in phishing. So are we specifically saying e-crime didn't? I don't know. This shift suggests that commodity malware operations are likely finding more effective and successful infections with innovative techniques as they face hardened security defenses. One such technique that proliferated in 2024 is social engineering, leveraging telephony-based exploitation. Guys, this is phishing. You can't say that they're moving away from phishing into phishing. Various e-crime adversaries are increasingly adopting vishing, callback phishing, and help desk social engineering attacks. Guys, that's all phishing. Okay. I'm just grumpy yell at cloud. Old man. All right. Shifting initial access vectors are consistent with larger trend identified. Threat hunting report, rather than delivering malware, e-crime adversaries are increasingly leveraging legitimate remote monitoring management tools. Okay, so live off the land, right? And therefore making malware non-essential. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So we did, I have seen a ton of, and I'm sure they're going to get to it, edge devices, right? Edge routers, VPNs, firewalls that have management portals on the internet. So I guess that's the remote monitoring management stuff. Kind of makes sense. That stuff's getting popped left and right, right? Okay, so in 2024, China's cyber espionage operations reached new levels of maturity. Adversaries maintaining a higher operational tempo than 2023, engaging in prolific targeting, decades of government investment, increasing number of new specialized China Nexus adversaries. CrowdStrike graduated 7 new China Nexus adversaries. It's kind of interesting. Graduated. And observed 100%, 150% increase in China Nexus activity across all sectors. Okay. Wait, what'd they say about OPSEC? OPSEC. Adversaries increasingly prioritized OPSEC and at-scale infrastructure management by obfuscating their activities via an operational relay box network. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so they got better OPSEC, but it didn't matter. Like we still attributed it to them, and so we saw this increase. Okay, I want to see the details on that. All right, North Korea. All right, I don't know how to say this word, and it's their entire word for North Korea. Kalima? We're going with Kalima. Which one of these is Lazarus? I wonder if they make that connection for us. So Lazarus is got to be one of these. So maybe it's Labyrinth, Kalima. And CrowdStrike just calls it something different, possibly. This is not going to include, this report just came out. It's just 2024. It's not going to include the Lazarus 1.5 billion crypto things stolen recently, right? Okay, so consistently targeted defense and aerospace entities in various countries. Okay, so I saw one of them target an aerospace contractor in Germany with, I think they had a fake person get hired and then stole a bunch of information, ransomed them. So they kind of double dip, right? We see them do espionage stuff, and then we see them they want the espionage data for their military, and then they go turn around and ransom it. They're like, we stole it, But by the way, you can pay us for it if you want, or pay us to not release it, or whatever it is. So they kind of double dip. Notably, Famous Kalima innovated their currency generation operations by leveraging their IT worker schemes at scale across the globe. I've talked a lot about that. CrowdStrike threat hunters responded to 304 what did someone in chat say? Hi, chat. Oh, Stardust is Lazarus. Okay, cool. Thank you. They didn't even mention them up here. Interesting. Okay, we're still on the intro. I appreciate you. Good to know. I would have thought like Labyrinth because it sounds like it, or Famous because Lazarus is the famous one. Okay, good to know. Okay, so their threat hunters responded to 304 Famous Kalima incidents, nearly 40% of these representing insider threat operations. So this is probably one of the most concerning trends that I've seen in the last year. It's not slowing down. So this is a 2024 report. We're seeing this in 2025 already, just in the first few months. Can't believe 2 months over already. We're seeing the FBI take down the laptop farms in the US that they're using for this. So I have a whole video on it. You can go watch that whole video if you want like the full rundown. But basically, North Koreans are paying legitimate American citizens who live here to use their house with their residential IP address as a laptop farm and like a mailing address for a corporate job. We saw one guy infiltrate the campaign that they were just advertising this stuff on Fiverr. Like they were getting hired on Fiverr and they were hiring on Fiverr for this stuff. So FBI said that they've found hundreds of companies that have North Korean spies hired for them. I want to address I got a comment on YouTube about this concept and people were like, oh, are they just trying to make money like American dollars? And that is part of it. But no, they are actually spies because a lot of them, they'll get hired. And like I said, with the double dip thing with the aerospace bit, they double dip on this IT worker scheme as well. Well, they will get hired. They will steal info, and then they'll turn around. They'll collect the salary. That's great, but that's small fries, right? Say they collect like an 80K salary, 120K salary, something like that. That's nothing when they're printing billions in crypto, right? And so across like those hundreds of jobs, they're making millions of dollars, but it's still relatively small fries. And they'll double dip. They'll turn around and sell and ransom the info to the company. Excuse me. Sneezing on live stream sucks. All right. So 304 incidents. So these are just the ones that got caught that CrowdStrike was there. That these are CrowdStrike customers. So just in 2024, 304 incident response incidents from the North Korean threat actors, and almost half of them had insider threats. Super interesting. I saw a theory so the Bybit hack that just happened the other day, $1.5 billion in crypto and Ethereum stolen. I saw a theory that they might have had an insider because it was a pretty easy hack that they got in. So I kind of believe that. It's like not hard to believe, right? Okay. What else? While North Korean adversaries have skillfully shifted their operations to support large-scale currency generation, specific tactics deployed, such as leveraging virtual interviews, allocating significant resources and staffing, and laptop farms, highlight their enterprising approach to computer network operations. Yeah. Okay. No, nothing new here. We've seen a lot of these publicly. 304 just on CrowdStrike customers is wild. Across 2024, vulnerability, threat actors continue to target devices in the network periphery. I already mentioned that, right? Edge stuff is super popular. Leveraged publicly available vulnerability research, disclosures, technical blogs, proof of concepts to aid in their malicious activity. All right, so this is like as people who report on, like as a person who reports on these vulnerabilities when they come out, it's a pretty common thing that people say. If like, especially if you're unfamiliar with the industry and you like stumble across me, they say, "Hey, why are you telling everyone about this vulnerability? Like, can't the bad guys use the information that you are now popularizing?" And right here, the answer is yes. But the bad guys are gonna find that vulnerability anyway. They know about vulnerabilities that we don't, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have jobs, really. Uh, and so the theory and the stats support this is we have to popularize this stuff, and people just need to get better at watching these things like what we're talking about and acting upon this stuff quickly, right? If you're a Palo Alto Networks customer, if you're a CrowdStrike customer, and you do not have like a Slack channel with an RSS feed of their like Unit 42 blog or CrowdStrike's threat intel or like Rapid7's threat intel, if you don't have a Slack channel with that RSS feed that says, "Hey, our researchers just found another Ivanti 0-day or another Fortinet 0-day or another, name it," right? I mean, Palo Alto, they'll talk about their own like PAN-OS vulnerabilities on that stuff. You got to have that in a feed. As soon as this intel goes out, the bad guys have it, but so do the good guys. And you just got to tighten up your operations and patch that stuff. All right. Within the cloud landscape, increasing number of new adversaries effectively exploited cloud environments, often employing previously tested techniques and adapting them to their own goals. I mean, okay, I want to see the stats. Cloud isn't new. Cloud threat actors aren't new. AWS is one of the most attacked pieces of infrastructure on the planet. So kind of interested in what this means here. New adversaries effectively exploiting cloud environments. Okay. What does that mean? Does that mean new people found unprotected S3 buckets? Does that mean there was some Kubernetes O-days last year? I want to read more about it. Adversaries also leverage Gen AI when conducting intelligence operations. Yeah, we saw this in the Google report too. So this is consistent with Google's Gemini threat actor report. Staying one step ahead of enterprising adversaries is difficult, but with CrowdStrike's help, yeah, okay. I know that this is a sales tool, but I still like the data, so I'm going to put up with the sales stuff. CrowdStrike Intelligence introduced 26 newly named adversaries, including a new Kazakhstan-based adversary, Comrade Saiga, raising the total number of named adversaries tracked across all motivations to 257. Great. In addition to named adversaries, CrowdStrike Intelligence tracks more than 140 active malicious activity clusters and emerging threat groups. Okay. Cool. In the past year, CrowdStrike has... Sorry, I just realized I wasn't looking if this part of the screen was actually viewable on the stream. I'm just on a laptop, so I don't have a lot of viewable real estate here. Enrich the Falcon. Okay, I don't care about Falcon enhancements or their SIM or anything like that. Okay, so here are the adversary names. Thanks, Lorenzo, for the clarification on some of the North Korean ones. I'm a little bit more familiar with who's the Typhoon namer. Is that Microsoft? I'm a little bit more familiar with like Microsoft's naming, Sandworm and Salt Typhoon, Volt Typhoon, stuff like that over CrowdStrike's. But we'll get there. Colima. Is that a type of animal? They're all animals. Yeah, it's Microsoft. Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks, Brandon. Welcome to chat. Look, my live stream is working. First live stream. Thanks for being here. Whoever's here. I figured no one would show up and this would just be a cool VOD. If you're just joining, I had to read this report because I'm writing it for my newsletter tonight. And it's a big report and I like big reports like this. And I figured, why not just turn the damn camera on? I'm scrolling. I don't think you can see it on screen. This report is 53 pages long. I don't think we'll get through all 53 pages on stream. We'll see. If it gets too late, I'm going to actually have to write the damn newsletter and not sit and go through this. But I do want to write my thoughts about this whole report because this is juicy info. Okay, who do we got? We're going to really care about Bear. I really want to hear about the disinformation campaigns that we saw. Obviously, we're already talking a lot about North Korea. I already put out a whole video about some of their techniques. Okay, we got Republic of Korea. Syria, they've been quiet lately, haven't they? They were big a few years ago, but Jackal is just general hacktivist. That's cool. Iran is upticked, right? Glad I found the stream by accident. Otherwise, I would get sidetracked reading it yourself. See, I figured I was going to nerd snipe some people, right? This just came out today. I was trying to find the PDF without selling my soul to their paywall, but I wound up giving in and giving them some more info that they probably already have about me and downloading it. I was like, I bet there's some other nerds out there that we're going to read this and we can all just kind of hold hands and read it together. I might grab another coffee here in a minute and use that to fuel the rest of my time. Okay, interesting. So I'm more familiar with the Microsoft naming terminology, but obviously Scattered Spider is a CrowdStrike terminology. Were any of you at, yeah, Nerd Plus Plus. Yeah, of course, you wouldn't be here otherwise. Was anyone at RSA this year or this past year? And did you go to the CrowdStrike booth? The CrowdStrike booth had the craziest, let me see if I can pull it up. The absolute craziest like setup. Okay, CrowdStrike RSA booth. Is this it? Brave pulling up. Yeah, this was a couple years ago. Yeah. Here it is. Let me open image in new tab. And let me share this on stream real quick. Newbie streamer trying to figure out how to do everything here. Hold on. Browser image. Did you guys see this? If you were at RSA last year, this was the CrowdStrike setup. This was ginormous too. Like the picture doesn't do it justice. It was huge. This was like their be scared of Scattered Spider booth thing. Yeah, pretty wild. I remember I have my own picture of it somewhere. I remember it being pretty wild. All right, let's switch back to the report. CrowdStrike Global Threat Report. All right. Cool. This is good to know. So we got Spider, Tiger in India, Wolf in Turkey. They said Kazakhstan's new or a new Saga in Kazakhstan. Ocelot. I don't see a lot of news out of some of these. Iran being kitten is kind of funny. I've seen a lot of new Iran stuff this year for sure. All right. Let me really quick. I forgot I should do this while you guys are here and before I really start digging into this. Let me share on some other social channels that I am live right now. Share. Copy link. If you guys follow me on Instagram, it's probably one of my biggest channels. And I'm going to share this real quick. While you guys are here, let's see if some more people can join. Link. What should I say? Decided to live stream me reading the new CrowdStrike Threat Intel report for 2025. Come hang. Cool. Thanks for allowing me to do that real quick. All right. Landscape overview. Attacks are escalating in speed, volume, sophistication. Organizations work to strengthen. Once inside, they act within seconds. I can attest to that. Stealthily moving across networks. 2024, 79% of detections CrowdStrike observed were malware free. I can also attest to that. Including adversaries are instead using hands-on keyboard techniques, blend in with legitimate user activity. Okay. Okay, so China activity surged 150%. All right, we've already read a bunch of this. Okay, this is just a cool visual for all the crap that we already read. 26 new adversaries. Okay, this is some more info on the cloud stuff. Valid account abuse accounted for 35% of cloud incidents. Okay, so this means they just popped an existing account. Cool. Growing reliance on identity attacks and vulnerability exploits. Every breach starts with initial access, and identity-based attacks are among the most effective entry method. Is my iPad not still dead? I was trying to grab a second monitor here. Oh yeah, okay, it's live. What do we mean reliance on identity and vulnerability exploits versus what? Phishing, which we saw went up 450%. That's confusing. Every breach starts with initial access, but identity-based attacks are among the most effective entry methods instead of traditional malware and stealthier methods. Instead of traditional malware, adversaries favor faster and stealthier methods such as phishing, social. All right, once again, reliance on identity and vulnerability exploits does not equal using voice phishing, social engineering, or whatever. Vulnerability or identity is not voice phishing or trusted relationship abuse. Those are two very different things. A major driver behind the shift is the rise in access brokers, specialists who acquire. So this is vulnerability. So it's like, okay, someone had a vulnerability in Ivanti or something like that, popped a bunch of boxes and sold the access to it. That makes sense. Specialists who acquire access to organizations sell it to other threat actors, including ransomware operators. Yeah, we saw a ton of that in 2024. Access broker activity surged 50%. All right, we're repeating ourselves a bit. What is this? Access broker advertisements by month. I wonder what sources they use for this. Like, could any of this be duplicated or anything like that? So 590, 306, 242. Jeez. So if I'm reading this correctly, 813, 853 just in May and December, and January is really popular too. So did threat actors take the summer off too? Jeez, really slow in the summer. Or do companies take off and so there's less people to hack or phish or anything like that? That's interesting. So how I'm reading this, and you guys can tell me if you're reading it the same way, is there was 813 unique advertisements for initial access identified in May. So you can basically correlate. I'm hoping that these stats are not like per ad run and like the same access being advertised multiple times. I'm hoping this is deduped. We'll see if we get further down and they get more info. But there's a lot. I'm hoping this is one-to-one, right? So this is saying they had 4,000 different organizations with access for sale that they tracked. And this is a 50% increase from 2023. Yeah, that is a lot. I mean, May and December alone is huge, huge. So it was over 800 organizations that threat actors were selling access to in May. That's how I'm reading that. It could just be advertisements, right? It could not be a one-to-one, but we'll see. Identity isn't the only target. I guess they're looping phishing in as identity. I would not do that. I would not loop phishing into identity, but that's just me. Adversary scale identity-based operations, vulnerability exploitation. Organizations must adopt proactive defense strategies, including identity verification, patching, blah, 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 blah. Continued rise of interactive intrusions. What does that mean? Modern cyber threats increasingly dominated by interactive intrusion techniques where adversaries execute hands-on keyboard actions to achieve objectives. Unlike traditional malware attacks, these intrusions rely on human adversaries mimicking legitimate user or admin behavior, making them exceptionally difficult to detect. Okay, interesting. 2024 CrowdStrike observed 35% year-over-year increase in interactive intrusion campaigns. I've never seen that term used, interactive intrusion. I like it. I just want to make sure I fully understand what they're talking about. For the 7th consecutive year, the technology sector remained the most targeted industry. I say that. I read these reports every year. If they have said that before, I have heard it before. I've never used this term knowingly. I might have read it in past reports, but we'll see. With high attack volumes also observed in consulting, manufacturing, and retail, the charts on the following page reflect the relative frequency and intrusions, top geographical regions, industries, verticals. Okay. Yeah, not super surprising here, right? A, based on just cybercrime stats. B, based on where CrowdStrike customers are, right? This could be a CrowdStrike customer density map. All right, regions are color-coded. Not necessarily a heat map, because otherwise I would think Europe looks like the richest red. Well, maybe it's heat map, but brightest red. I guess it's brightening up, yeah. Top 10 industries targeted by interactive intrusions. I want to know what they call an interactive intrusion. So they're really interesting. They said execute hands-on keyboard actions which rely on human adversaries mimicking legitimate user behavior. Yeah, okay. I like that. I like that term. These statistics highlight the global reach, and graphs go up to the right. So more bad guys do more bad stuff. Makes sense. Breakout time. Malware-free activity, 79%. Yeah, this makes sense, guys. Like, especially for CrowdStrike customers, it makes sense that first of all, CrowdStrike is like anti-malware. So the threat actors could see CrowdStrike on the box and then not use malware. So it makes sense that malware-free activity accounted for 80% of detections that we saw, that us, the biggest anti-malware company on the planet, saw. All right, I don't know. Maybe the stats aren't skewed like that, but that's what I'm thinking. Breakout time, the race against adversaries. Breakout, lateral movement, 48 minutes, down from 62 minutes. Alarmingly, the fastest breakout was 51 seconds, meaning defenders may have less than a minute to detect and respond before attackers establish deeper control. Yes. Yes, I agree with this sentence. I don't think the less than a minute thing and deeper control, like I said when they first said this, I would need to know what this incident is. This just could be a particularly bad setup, right? No segmentation, anything like that. All right, rapid escalation and breakout time reinforces the need for reinforces the need for you buying our products, is what that says. Of course. Curly spider. What's curly spider versus scattered spider? It's another e-crime. I haven't heard curly talked about. Do I call curly something else? Does Microsoft call curly something else? Because I know scattered spider has other names, but most people still just call them scattered spider. Curly spider, I don't know. Emerged as one of the fastest and most adaptive e-crime adversaries, executing high-speed, hands-on intrusions. In this case, the adversary attempted... What do you mean in this case? Oh, this is one case study. Sorry, I didn't see that. Social engineering attack. Okay, cool. I like a case study. The adversary attempted to achieve their objective without even needing to break out onto another device. Yeah, lateral movement isn't needed all the time. SaaS things exist, right? You can pop one account on Okta and get access to everything. The entire attack chain from initial user interaction, social engineering, to introducing a backdoor and establishing persistence took under 4 minutes. That's really, really effing fast. Okay, so I have been incident response on a number of spider activities, scattered spider included. And I can tell you that if you worked for an org that could have the account that they popped first locked within 10 minutes, you're looking pretty good. If you were over 10 minutes, you start to lose some stuff. They are very fast. They pop these accounts and they start doing what they need to do fast, really fast. In incidents that I saw, we're talking 20 minutes. In incidents that I know personally firsthand, people who have responded to that have had really good automations on detecting them and locking them out within 10 minutes, they saw no data stolen. And but 20 minutes, you're starting to lose some data. If you're talking hours, they are done. They're done with whatever they want to do. They're having fun at that point. And as you get later in the hours, they can pivot to things like ransomware and encryption. So 4 minutes is fast though. Even on stuff that I've seen to establish persistence, backdoor introduction, that's really, really fast. And stuff starts going out the door. This incident would have been prevented by CrowdStrike. Great. With proper policies. Thanks, CrowdStrike. How Curly Spider operates. This adversary relies heavily on social engineering for initial access. Yeah, not a surprise. All the spider stuff, I'd say most of the spider stuff is social engineering. In some cases, the following will occur. A user will receive a large volume of spam emails impersonating charities, newsletters, or financial offers. Shortly after, a caller posing as a help desk or IT support claims the spam is caused by malware or outdated spam filters, and the user is instructed to join a remote session with a remote management tool, TeamViewer. Yeah, of course. I saw someone, who was it? North Korea, using WebEx as a remote management thing. So instead of TeamViewer or some of the other popular ones that I'm blanking on in the moment, what's some of the other ones that obviously would set off detections? A lot of corporate machines have WebEx, and that wouldn't set off a detection, right? And WebEx actually has a remote management plugin that they were using. I thought that was clever. With attackers then guiding them through the installation of the tool, the adversary chose Quick Assist, Microsoft Quick Assist. Yeah, this makes sense, right? You're like, hi, I'm from the help desk, install this Microsoft thing. Yeah, makes sense. I don't think anyone would flinch. Okay, this is a CrowdStrike sales thing, but I still like the timeline. I still want to see the timeline. Let's ignore the Falcon is the best and just try to look at the stats here. So we have spam bombing. Okay, so in the incidents that I responded to, I didn't see this spam bombing, but we saw a fair amount of SMS stuff followed by two-factor exhaustion. So bombing in general makes sense. So spam bombing and then vishing. So they call, say, hey, noticed you're setting off some alarm because you're getting all this spam. It's probably for malware. Let us in to your computer. We'll clean it up for you. So they gain access. They validate the adversary. Oh, so they can connect out to C2. That's within 3 minutes from the time they get remote access. Curl downloads some malicious scripts, run those scripts to set registry keys and remove artifacts so they cover their tracks. That's 6 seconds. Yeah, these scripts move fast. So anything that they can do that's scripted moves really fast. If they get into Okta, they've got scripts that go through everything in Okta within seconds. And if they find certain things, they have scripts for those certain things, and they start exfiltrating data within minutes. Backdoors within another 6 seconds. So 4 minutes. CrowdStrike identifies this backdoor. So if they didn't do this part, I'm not sure CrowdStrike would have saw them, right? So if they were in, this would have had to been threat hunting, right? Oh, this stuff is going out to C2. Check it out. Okay, so once Curly Spider gains initial access, its window of opportunity is limited. Access only lasts as long as the victim remains on the call. Okay, so that makes sense. They need persistence for this case. It's not a popped account. It's a remote viewer on the box. So, okay. So it makes sense that they had to try to do something to gain persistence, and they tripped over CrowdStrike in the meantime. With remote access secured, they okay. I just covered all this. I explained all this from the graphic. Impact and connection to ransomware. In this case, Curly Spider was stopped before they could proceed with the rest of their attack. However, CrowdStrike intelligence has seen these tactics directly support ransomware operators. In and this adversary frequently collaborates with Wandering Spider, the group behind Black Basta ransomware. It's a huge ransomware operation. By combining high tempo social engineering, legitimate remote tools like that Microsoft Quick Assist, and then cloud hosted payloads. Yeah, makes sense, right? They don't need to like bring the payload onto the box or get the person to download the payload. They can just reach out and grab it. Curly Spider exemplifies how modern adversaries bypass. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Like I said, so the legitimate remote tools. So again, watch out for that Cisco one too. They don't call it out in this case study, but I saw it when I was researching the North Korean threat actors. Proactive defense. So my call out here, this is the Matt J advice corner side tangent, is if you're not doing SOC automation stuff, you're going to be too slow. So I don't care how proactive you are. If you don't have your version of scripts that do all this stuff, like the 6 second to establish the back door, because they have scripts that start to fire off all their stuff. You have to have your version of that, right? What do we do if we detect certain behavior? We need to fire off our own stuff. I really like a lot of SOAR tools for this kind of thing. So if SIM SOAR type stuff. So if your SIM fires certain alerts, your SOAR goes and handles the rest. Okay, 2025 attackers will only move faster. Will we keep up? The business of social engineering. Since 2023, e-crime has targeted intrusion adversaries have increasingly used identity compromise. We're kind of saying the same thing over and over here, guys. This 53-page report could be shorter if we stop repeating ourselves. Several e-crime adversaries incorporated vishing. Should we boycott vishing? Should I say voice phishing every time I see it? Because I hate this word. I don't know. Maybe I should stop dying on this hill. Several e-crime incorporated vishing into their intrusions. 40% compounded monthly growth rate in observed vishing operations. The latter half of the year, it going up that much over the first half is insane. Similar to other social engineering techniques, phishing is effective because it targets human weakness or error rather than a flaw in software. This is nuts. This is an insane graph. Can we just sit and look at this graph for a second? Okay, I still want to know, was this like one campaign? Did a single threat actor kick off some operation in September that was successful and they just like poured gas on it? That's absolutely nuts. I mean, really, I know they drew the line in the half. Really, it's the last quarter, right? Like really, it's like Q4 versus the rest of the year is nuts. So in phishing campaigns, call targeted users, attempt to persuade them to download stuff, as we just saw in that other case study. Tracked at least 6 similar but likely distinct campaigns in which threat actors posing as IT staff called their targets and attempted to persuade them. Okay, so 6 similar but distinct threat actors. They can probably tell this based on like some behaviors, right? The kind of remote software they're trying to establish, maybe the language the person was speaking, maybe the phone numbers that they were calling from. There's probably some MO stuff that brings them to the likely distinct. So I wonder what was similar about it. Just like the overall IT person trying to do stuff via Quick Assist or Teams. At least 4 of these campaigns leverage spam bombing. Okay, I got to keep an eye out for this one. I haven't reported too much on this. So spam bombing campaigns. If you just all of a sudden start getting a ton of like newsletters you didn't sign up for, and then you get a phone call that will make your pain go away, don't listen to them. That makes sense. I'm going to make a short video about that. I'm glad I'm reading this. If you're here from Instagram, make sure you shout in chat and say yo, because I did post this over there. And I always have people asking me to make videos on this kind of stuff. All right. At least 4 of these campaigns leverage spam bomb. Oh, I already read this paragraph. Sorry. Long-standing Russian-based eCram Chatty Spider. Again, I wish they said the AKAs in here, because I don't know. I don't use Chatty Spider, Curly Spider, Plump Spider. I don't use these names. I do use Scattered Spider, but the rest of them I probably know them by their other name. So I wish they said the AKAs in this list. I know they're trying to be like, where CrowdStrike, our names are the best, but continue to employ callback phishing as an initial access vector. In callback phishing, threat actors typically begin by sending a lure email regarding an imminent charge or overdue payment. This prompts the call back to them. Chatty Spider primarily targets the legal and insurance sectors, demanding ransom of $8 million. Several e-crime threat actors use callback phishing to gain initial access, including campaigns to install remote support tools. So I'm going to be interested in the 2025 stats on this, because right now, like currently, as I'm recording this, we are seeing a giant uptick in fake texts about overdue tolls. And you get a text, it's like, oh, you're like going to go to collections and stuff like this. I've had a lot of people ask me if they're legit. They're obviously not. But a lot of people I know that should know better get scared about this stuff. So we are seeing the callback. I'm seeing the callback stuff go into 2025. Easy. Brazil-based e-crime adversary Plump Spider exclusively targeted Brazil-based organizations, so they stayed at home. With attempts to conduct wire fraud, Plump Spider uses phishing calls to direct targeted users to sites hosting remote. Okay, so similar to the other stuff. Rustdesk, Supremo. I don't know those. Maybe they're popular in Brazil. After gaining access, they compromise the victim's payment systems to perform fraudulent financial transfers. In addition to targeting unwitting users, the adversary has reportedly attempted to recruit insiders at organizations. Okay, that's super interesting. I'd like to read more about them. We'll see if they go deeper. So phishing to remote management tools seems to be, no matter what group you are, you're doing that. And then this one specifically in Brazil pivots to financial institutions and transfers. This stuff isn't as popular in the US. What'd you say in chat here? Rustdesk is the new TeamViewer alternative. Looks a lot like AnyDesk. AnyDesk was the one I was trying to think of that North Korea avoids. My brain farted on AnyDesk. Because AnyDesk sets off lots of alarms, right? Because not a lot of people use it natively, unless your organization specifically uses that. North Korea avoids that and uses Cisco. Super interesting. So Rustdesk kind of looks like AnyDesk, another alternative. Okay, interesting. Thanks, Brandon. The adversary has reportedly attempted to recruit insiders. So that's unique based on the spiders that we've talked about so far. The recruiting insiders or getting insiders hired at organizations tends to be a nation state situation, not a e-crime situation. So interesting that Plump does that and that works. Oh, I was saying the fraudulent financial transfers. We don't see that as much in the US, maybe because our financial, national financial institutions can claw this stuff back so easy. It's why crypto fraud is so hot right now, because they can't claw it back. Like that money's gone, right? But if you do a fake wire transfer out of like someone's Chase account or something, that shit just gets clawed right back, right? I mean, it might take some time, might cause some pain, might not get it all back, might not get it back at all, but pretty high likelihood that it claws back. All right, Curly, Chatty, Plump, the new Three Stooges, right? Curly, Chatty, and Plump. Honestly, that's pretty legit descriptions of the Three Stooges. I like that. There's a chatty one, there's a plump one, and then there's Curly. Curly was the chatty one. All right, so spam bombs, phishing, vishing. Plump Spider does not do step 1. Collect underpants, ? Step 2. profit. Curly calls the victim. Okay, so the spam bomb, then they call chatty, phishing, and then the callback, and then plump just straight up calls. So there is no, okay, so there's no pretext for plump. They're just calling people. RMM tools. Looks like there's a ton in Brazil. Soft Ether VPN, AMI admin, DW agent, Hop2 desk, Rust desk, Supremo, and TeamViewer. Okay. Zoho Assist, I've seen a ton of used in this way. Atera, SuperOps, Synchro, and then the classics, Microsoft Quick Access and TeamViewer. Okay, so we have no step 3 for these two. Plump Spider obtains valid credentials from the victims. So I guess just by smooth talking their way into it is what they mean here. Reconnaissance tooling, download a Win SCP or our clone. That's really interesting. Okay. As a means of persistence. That makes sense. Deploys tools for persistence, including custom backdoors. Curly does recon for security software. Okay, we've seen a ton of this. I'm expecting they're going to say this a lot more in the report. We've seen like a major uptick in context-aware malware, right? So they see what security software is there and then modify their behavior or shut themselves down, right? Reduce their likelihood of getting caught and burning stuff. C2 and then plump provort. Okay, so this is just smooth talking their way into a wire transfer. These guys are doing C2 stuff. All right, makes sense. Help desk social engineering. In addition to vishing, how is help desk social engineering not vishing? If you call them pretending to be the help desk, man, I am dying on this hill for no reason. What we call phishing or vishing versus all this other stuff. All right, we're making it complicated. So targeted organizations, IT help desk impersonate a legitimate employee, attempt to persuade a help desk agent to reset passwords for the relevant account. All right, that's actually kind of interesting. When I read help desk social engineering, I read the opposite. So maybe that's why they're saying it like this and it's distinct. So I read it as they were calling people pretending to be the help desk because that's what we've seen a ton of. This seems to be saying there's been an uptick in the threat actors calling the help desk pretending to be the user. Scattered Spider, obviously big on all of these techniques, specifically to SSO accounts. So one of the other names for Scattered Spider, by the way, is Octopus, I believe. I think I got that right. And it's OKTA, puss. So they go after Okta accounts all day. I've responded to a number of these incidents in day jobs and other advisory capacities. Multiple e-crime actors adopted this technique. Yeah, because Scattered Spider was so fucking successful. Several relevant cases targeted academic and healthcare entities. In these incidents, threat actors subsequently used compromised identities to exfiltrate data from cloud-based software. Okay. Yep, from SaaS stuff. Including going to modify payroll. So I know since from my actual incident response stuff, they pop Okta and they have scripts that immediately go look for sensitive stuff. And one of those things immediate pivot is if there's Workday beyond Okta and like, what can they do? What info can they get out of Workday to then go fish those people? Could they modify stuff? All that kind of bit. So, one of the really pains in the ass of this whole attack. Okay, match A sidebar again. Before I keep going through this report, one of the biggest pains in the ass is if you kill so say you do everything that I said before, you have automation, you know that the Okta account got popped because they're logging in from somewhere that they've never logged in from, or there's some suspicious MFA things going on or whatever it is, right? And you know that this account got popped. If you kill that Okta account, it doesn't necessarily kill all of the SaaS accounts that that account was used to get access to. So you have 200 SaaS applications behind Okta and you kill the Okta account that you know is compromised. If they already went and clicked all those tiles and got valid session tokens for all those SaaS apps, and you kill that Okta session that you know is stolen, there's a setting called skim. It has to be skim enabled between Okta and the SaaS app to actually bidirectionally kill that token, which, guess what? Not a very significant percentage of SaaS apps are going to be like out of the box skim enabled. And oh God, pain in the ass. Talk about pain in the ass of then having to go and figure out who the admin is on all the SaaS applications to kill that token. Pain. Okay. IT help desks often require employees seeking password MFA resets to provide their full name, date of birth, employee ID, manager names. However, e-crime actors attempting to social engineer help desk often accurately respond to these questions. This information is not necessarily privileged, can be founded on like fucking LinkedIn, unfortunately, right? Identity data, typically confidential, such as social security number, is already burnt. That's already burnt. Yep. We got to stop using SSNs as unique identifiers. They're burned. They've been burned since Equifax. And you can't rotate them, so you're screwed. In most help desk social engineering incidents, calls were made outside the victim's local business hours. Likely, it enables threat actors to maintain longer access. Yeah, can attest. Any of the ones I saw were like Friday late at night, because if they get in, they can have all weekend. Makes sense. Threat actors using this technique often register their own device for MFA to enable persistent access. Yep, that's a sneaky one. They often manually delete emails from compromised mailboxes related to account activity. Yep, so they get into SSO, they get into your email. So it doesn't matter that it kicks off an email that says, oh, you added a new device to MFA. It doesn't matter. They're already in the email, so they can delete that. They'll also pivot to chat apps. They'll go into Teams, they'll go into Slack. They'll start trying to laterally move to other user accounts, because if they get detected on that account, the more accounts they can spread to, the higher likelihood they'll remain persistent. Over the past year, several e-crime actors have openly recruited callers on popular e-crime forums. Okay, so yeah, we've seen this. A lot of this, who's got the report on this? Is it Krebs? Someone has a report about a lot of this tying to like gaming forums and Discord and, just like Xbox and stuff like this. Someone has a really good report. Maybe it's Citizen Labs about how these people are getting recruited into e-crime. And a lot of it ties to like gaming communities. You're talking like young men, right? I was going to say young people, but it's really young men who are getting recruited and via like Discord chats and then going in. And these recruited callers, there's actually like tryouts about how successful they are. All right. The advertisements are usually for English speaking callers with knowledge to RMM. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to use AnyDesk, and do you speak English? Some high criteria here. It makes sense, right? It's like you're super lonely dude, 17, trying to figure out what's going on. I was this guy. I'm sure some people watching were this guy. I just didn't have this kind of opportunity to like sit in chat rooms with people that are literally printing millions of dollars, right? And they're legitimately printing millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. Not that these callers are making millions of dollars, they're making pennies, but the people that they're associated with are being very successful. And then turning on each other, right? Like they'll get these big ransom payouts and ditch. They'll just be like, okay, bye. I got my $10 million. You can imagine if you got $10 million in Ethereum, you could just, as a 19-year-old, you could probably disappear. All right. Sought effective methods for spoofing phone numbers or encrypting calls to ensure caller IDs. Phone origin social engineering is still going to be credible, obviously. So one of the big things I've been seeing around this is like spoofing legitimate financial institutions' public numbers. We got to get a lock on that, just like as a national telephone system. Like that shouldn't be as easy as it is. I tell everyone, hang up and call back. All right. How to mitigate. Require video authentication. This is something I've implemented everywhere I've worked. Is, hey, we're gonna Zoom them, and we need to see some government ID to do sensitive stuff. Also, by the way, if you mail your people YubiKeys, you could set up a custom form to like have them off with a YubiKey for certain things. That helps. Train help desk employees to exercise caution when doing MFA stuff, especially by calls, especially after business hours. Use additional non-push. Yeah. FIDO2. Use a YubiKey. Yeah. So this was the big one that Scattered Spider was big on, right? Is a lot of people were using Duo or I think even Entra with push notifications that all the person had to do was hit the green checkbox on their locked phone and it would be a valid MFA challenge. And if all of a sudden you got hundreds of notifications on your device, you're eventually going to hit that green check, and it happened, right? It's called MFA exhaustion. Monitor for more than one user registering the same device. Yeah, okay. You can set, this is one of the automations that I would suggest you set up, right? Different devices for MFA should be a giant red flag that you immediately start taking action on that account. People don't normally, even if they have multiple phones, they're not usually setting up multiple phones worth of MFA. I know I've always been a multi-phone person, and I've never done the same account MFA on 2 phones. So really rare. All right, I'm interested in the Gen AI stuff because I think it's overblown, except for it seems like getting hired seems to be moving the needle on getting hired by the North Koreans. Almost certainly in 2025. Yeah, that's a fair bet. Adversaries increasingly adopting Gen AI, particularly in support of social engineering efforts. Yeah, so this is one of the big things. I've been saying this since LLMs came out, is that we're not really seeing it like turn out super hackers, but we're definitely seeing it turn out super English language speakers. A lot of the ways that people would, spot suspicious emails or attribute attacks to different adversaries was by what language they were speaking or what kind of broken English they were speaking. And now they're not writing any of their own emails, right? So it's like LLMs speak perfect English. It's like the one thing they're very good at. So intelligence operations are high tempo, both supported by Gen AI, highly convincing outputs with precise prompting, custom model training, or fine tuning. Yeah. So this is what I talked about in the video where I said that Google put out their Gemini, like what adversaries were using Gemini report. It's good data. I'm glad they're sharing it. It's not that useful because why would China APTs use Gemini when they know Google is watching? I think they can just use custom local models or something like that. All right, so social engineering. This is North Korea creating legitimate personas, fake profile images. We saw this in the KnowBe4 case. Deepfake videos we're seeing, they're still not very convincing, so people usually spot these. We saw one case out of Hong Kong where this looked like it might have happened, but we don't have a ton of data on that whole thing. So like people are considering that might be a fake news story. So either way, we haven't seen a ton of deepfake video turning into straight up access, at least publicly that I've seen. This report might say otherwise. Effectiveness of Gen AI in phishing, like I said, it's just straight up English language superiority. China aligned LLM powered green cicada network posted coordinated inauthentic behavior on social media. Oh, okay. So disinformation campaign. That was a wordy way to say LLM powered disinformation campaigns, Russia disinformation campaigns. Gen AI was used in the Indian election to create videos and images. Yeah. Are we ever going to really know if these things move the needle? Right. It's like there was a ton of like fake AI images on Facebook during the US election and apparently the India elections. It's really hard to attribute what of that actually moved the needle. All right, so spam, malicious network operate. This is what I'm more interested in, right? So like Gen AI and social engineering, obvious. I've been saying that since LLMs came out, and we've been seeing it in getting hired. I'm more interested in, okay, do they have any agents that are like writing malware for them that we don't know about yet? Spam email campaign distributing snake keylogger. Okay, this is just social engineering again, though, right? LLM generated content in the spam email campaign. I would put this over here, I guess. Well, it was used to distribute malware. Okay, fine. Big game hunting ransomware operators deployed likely LM authored data destruction script. Super interesting. Super interesting. How do they know? How do we know that this is a likely LM authored data destruction script? Do they know which LLM generated it? Because obviously they got around a guardrail, because there's probably a guardrail that said you can't do this. Likely LLM generated decoy sites. Ooh, okay. This makes a lot of sense. Have you guys seen the new AI coding tools like Bolt or Lovable, or even like the new Claude 3.7? With like one prompt, you can generate a very, very good landing page that looks super legitimate. So I can see that becoming a much, much bigger thing as they figure that out. Actors on criminal forums discussed using LLMs for coding and shell command. Yeah, okay. Like we are on their Discords and Telegrams, and they're like, yo, ChatGPT helped me troubleshoot this thing I was trying to do. LLM was used to develop an exploit for a specific CVE. I wish they would have told us. I don't. I'm a nerd. I'm not look at a CVE and know exactly what it is, nerd, unless you're talking about MS 08067, because that's when I was a pen tester, to date myself. I don't know this one. If you guys know this one, let me know. Cloud conscious operators attempt. I hate this. Why are we saying cloud conscious operators? It's so silly. Attempted to gain access to enterprise LLMs. Okay, sure. Social engineering. I actually don't care about reading this too much. I know a lot about this, unless they know new deepfake stuff. Hold on. So this is the North Korean stuff. Got it. Gen AI also used for BEC and fraud. Unidentified threat actors used public footage of a target company's CFO to create credible deepfake videos and social engineer the victims. No. This is the one I was talking about. Okay. So this is the CFO. I can't believe this was in 2024. I thought this was older. This is the CFO in Hong Kong that apparently got a deepfake video phone call and transferred money. Not credible level of information that actually happened the way that we all are reading that it happened, by the way. So, all right, May 2024, industry reporting indicated threat actors had impersonated the CEO of an international professional services entity and attempted to solicit fraudulent payments. Attempted. Okay. So they used AI via what? It doesn't say like phone or video or deepfakes, or if they, like, everywhere I've ever worked has gotten fake, hey, it's me, the CEO, send me a gift card text. So I don't know what they mean here. The threat actor also appeared to have used Gen AI to clone CEO's voice. Okay. Also clone the voice, attempted to persuade the call recipient to transfer funds. Okay. So that's interesting. That's kind of new. What else we got? Sorry, I was just checking Instagram to see if anyone saw that I said I was live on YouTube for the first time. Relationship between Gen AI and social engineering. Also, mobile malware? Evolve focus on mobile malware. Since late 2023, Gold Pickaxe malware has been employed to steal biometric facial data from iOS and Android. I think I reported on this late 2023. We're pulling back from memory here. Gold Pickaxe malware on iOS. You don't see a lot of iOS malware through APAC. Yeah, I remember this. I remember it being mostly Android, though. I got to look that up. Malware which cannot bypass auth captures images and video to generate. Oh, yeah, this was sick. This was sick. So when I saw this come out, I thought that they meant they were stealing the biometrics out of like Secure Enclave, which, like, holy shit, that's like major. Ode, what up, Zach from IG? Thanks for the shout. Thanks for being here. When I read this, I thought they got into the Secure Enclave and stole your Face ID info, like your model that gets created. That'd be nuts. That's like what Apple pays millions of dollars in bounties for. What actually happened was it was more of like a fake app that then social engineered them in doing some like face scan like redoing a face scan in this new app and then using that to then do some of this other stuff, this deepfake stuff. So I guarantee if you Google this gold pickaxe thing, the headlines will make it sound like they stole the biometrics out of this, but they didn't. They social engineered you into like creating new biometrics in their fake app. Academic research. Yeah, Axios, the home of all LLM research papers that talk about how crazy this stuff is. There's a ton about Gen AI like finding vulnerabilities, like, oh, this LLM hacked the website in 5 minutes. And it's like, yeah, it was like a purposely vulnerable web app. It's like I could write a script that does that. I don't need an LLM. But yeah, anyway. I've talked to like 10 founders building AI agent hack bots. So we're gonna see this. We're gonna see this stuff soon. It's happening. LLM generated phishing comparable to human created phishing. Yeah, they're probably better. Okay, famous Kalima. Does anyone else read chlamydia? I keep almost saying chlamydia. I don't know what a Kalima is. Looked like a goat or a cow or something. Am I dumb? Is this like common knowledge what this is? I might be dumb. You guys can all troll me later. Adversary spotlight. Quickly enter the spotlight due to broad scale operations, high tempo. Adversary also oversaw a large insider campaign. Is this the one that did KnowBe4? Is that who we're talking about here? I remember Invisible Ferret malware coming out of this group too. I remember reading that. Okay, I'm not crazy. Kalima, yeah. All right. Kalima. It's just not an attractive word. It's like a disease. Okay, 304 incidents. We talked about that already. Top targeted sectors. I don't usually care about what sector. It's like, okay, technology, financial services. The only time that the sector is super interesting is when it's healthcare to me or critical infrastructure. Because then those have like very specific MOs. It's like, okay, technology, what the hell does that mean? That's like everyone, right? Countries, yeah. I mean, also, again, this is a CrowdStrike customer heat map. Cyber operations remain remarkably consistent, relying on delivery of first stage implant via Trojanized Node.js application. What does that mean? Is that NPM registry poisoning, or is that we convince some guy in Discord to download our Node.js app? That does not preclude that you are not crazy. Yeah, thanks, Lorenzo. I could still be crazy, but we can joint not know what the hell a Kalima is. This application was disguised as a coding oh yeah. Okay, I saw this. So they are posing as recruiters. I don't know if this is the same threat actor that got KnowBe4, but I saw this fake recruiter thing going on, right? So this application was disguised as coding challenge for blockchain developers and delivered to victims under the guise of an employment interview. Famous Kalima deployed 7 distinct malware families in 2024, evading detection by slightly refining how the files were down. Yeah, okay. This is a fancy way of saying the malware hash that made it to VirusTotal immediately, we just changed it a little bit and that hash changed. That's a fancy way of saying that. Famous Kalima's malicious insiders appear to be opportunistically pursue insider access across multiple sectors. Adversary is likely driven by available employment opportunities rather than specific targeting requirements. Operatives use stolen or fraudulent identities to obtain software development jobs, then send their company-provided laptop to a third-party facilitator running a laptop farm. Yeah, we know a lot about this. They identified several laptop farms in Illinois, New York, Texas, Florida. Okay, so that's super interesting because I know of 2 laptop farms getting taken down, and they were in Arizona and Tennessee. Off the top of my head, I know those 2 stories. The FBI raided some laptop farms in Arizona. I think her name was like Christine Chapman. Wow, weird memory because I've covered that story a bunch. And then Nashville, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy was in Nashville, Tennessee. So either these got identified by CrowdStrike and then we didn't see the law enforcement operation, or I just am human and didn't see all possible news. But that's a lot more laptop farms. Illinois, New York, Texas, and Florida. Holy crap. I mean, you had to imagine it was bigger than those two the two Arizona and Tennessee ones, because hundreds of organizations have had North Koreans infiltrate them via insiders. But all right, famous Kalima installs remote management tools, several browser extensions on the laptops. This is what I said. This has got to be the WebEx. Was I saying Citrix earlier? I meant WebEx. Cisco's WebEx has plugins for remote management that this happened. Google says it's a word from East Asia. Kalima is an alternate spelling, and it's an economic movement in Korea. Interesting. Most of these things are animals, right? It's like panda, spider, kitten, panther, all this kind of stuff. So that's interesting. And it has a picture of like a goat or a cow. It's hard to tell. So it's weird that it's like, it's a goat or cow and it's an economic movement. I don't know. Okay, cool. Thanks for looking it up. Famous installs remote management. I covered that. Was one of the most active adversaries of 2024. Yeah. I mean, North Korea is like quadrupling down on this, like get people hired operation and steal crypto operations, right? I mean, they're printing billions of dollars from this stuff. The adversary will very likely continue conducting parallel cyber and insider threat campaigns well into 2025. This assessment is based on the adversary's success, their ongoing high operational tempo, and the minimal impact of government indictments and actions against the adversary throughout 2024. Yeah, okay. The government indictments don't really matter for the North Koreans because they just do not care. I mean, you look at their crypto stealing operations, they do not care. They're not trying to be quiet. They're not trying to hide it. But the indictments of the laptop farms and anyone like helping facilitate what they're doing is what's going on. You're seeing people at like hiring firms helping them get placed too, right? For a cut of the salary or whatever it is. These guys will have like a bunch of jobs each. And again, they care so little once they're in, because they're collecting a salary, but it's small fries. They're just stealing information. And so you're even seeing like multiple people like working the same job, and they'll have like different North Korean guys show up for meetings and stuff. It's like so brazen. It's like super, super interesting. All right. Information operations, big into Gen AI, green cicada, information operations, 5,000 enabled by a Chinese language LLM system. I think, it's funny. I just assumed English speaking LLM when I was talking earlier. Okay, so Chinese language LLM comprising more than 5,000 inauthentic accounts on Twitter. The network amplified politically divisive issues to exacerbate social divisions that led up to the U.S. election. Oh, it was. Okay, so a Chinese language LLM system targeting U.S. elections. Okay, so I read this and thought it meant, posting Chinese language content. Industry sources have linked the operation to China-based entities. Yeah. I mean, this was obvious to anyone who's holding on to a vestige of the old Twitter, right? It's a sinking ship. It's like so much bot content at this point. It's not even funny. Russia-aligned operators also used Gen AI disinformation. Yeah, they were big on targeting Israel stuff with those disinformation ops. I covered that a bunch. Okay, to support CNO. What's CNO? Can you tell me what CNO is, please? I just have acronym fatigue at this point in the report. Adversaries are exploring the use of Gen AI to directly support CNO, likely using it to assist in writing utility scripts, developing tools or malware, limited direct visibility into adversary use of LLMs, inhibit analysis of these campaigns. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. It's like they're not going to necessarily use the public LLMs or the US based LLMs. They obviously have. We've seen reports come out of OpenAI and Google talking about it. But I mean, they can just use their own LLMs and we just won't see it. Familiarizing themselves with these tools. Obviously, March 2024, a criminal actor distributed a spam email campaign using a likely LLM generated TXT template The emails delivered an archive file containing the commodity malware Snake Keylogger. This campaign marks CrowdStrike's first confirmed instance of a criminal actor likely using LLM-generated content in malicious spam campaigns. All right, everybody. So we have a new holiday to celebrate. March 2024. We got to pick a day. I need an exact day. 15th. The Ides of March. Beware of the Ides of March. We have the anniversary of the first ever criminal actor using likely LLM generated content in a malicious spam campaign. Guys, this is a great holiday. This is a big holiday. I like it. I could see this being like a scene in the Terminator movie. March 2024. Criminals used LLMs for the first time. Okay, cool. I mean, there's no way, right, that was the first time, but in a malicious spam campaign. Got it. BGH ransomware operators, APT Inc. used an uncommon destructive PowerShell script to destroy data. Yeah, I was interested in this one because there's like no way that a PowerShell script to destroy data wouldn't run into some LLM guardrails. They're all easily bypassed though. Based on comment formatting, the similarity to results produced by other LLMs, and the lack of public sources resembling the script, it was likely generated using an LLM. I like that. So they didn't even take the comments out when they used it. So by the time malware analysis got a handle of it, they were able to look at the comments and be like, oh, those are comments that Claude would use or whatever, right? Adversaries have used LLMs to generate scripts in the past. Yeah. Here you go. Scattered Spider used LLM generated scripts in 2023. So this March 2024 holiday is kind of a sham, unless we're really into like spam holidays. E-crime actors have employed Gen AI to produce content. Nitro Spider, sounds like a show on MTV, who employs malvertising to deliver nitrogen. Like, if you don't work in cybersecurity, just like reading this sentence, you're gonna have an aneurysm, right? Like, go talk to your mom and be like, Mom, I was reading about Nitro Spider today. You know them. They're the e-crime malvertising group that puts fake ads on Google to, deliver nitrogen to their victims. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I know this is I know what I'm talking about, but just like saying the sentence sounds ridiculous. Used LLM generated decoy websites. Okay, that's a cool use. This makes a lot of sense, right? This is like LLMs are super good at crapping out these websites these days. So it makes a lot of sense that they're crapping out really fast decoy websites. Adversary lures prospective targets by purchasing advertisements for particular search terms on Google or Bing. They filter out requests not originating from a malicious advertisement to ensure only legitimate victims receive the malware. Other requests are rerouted to decoy websites created by the LLM. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. LLMs are good at this. E-crime actor used a similar technique, used distributed tooling encrypted with the Davy crypter to targets who searched for two-factor authentication software. So if you searched for 2FA software, you were like trying to be a good internet citizen and like be secure and try to find some 2FA software, you wound up with the Davy crypter. Clicking on an advertisement exposed the malicious download site, while direct access are forwarded to an LLM generated decoy site. This is why all this BS about ad blockers, talking to you, YouTube, like the war against ad blockers is making us less secure. I mean, look at right here. We have two different malvertising campaigns to deliver malware. If you can solve malware delivery via ads and you can solve the privacy nightmare that is ads, I'll uninstall my ad blocker. Until then, throughout 2024, several malicious actors discussed using Gen AI in criminal marketplaces forums. Yeah, so like I said, we've infiltrated their Discords, their Telegrams, and they're out there talking about Gen AI stuff. Makes sense. Latin American-based threat actors discussed using generative pre-trained transformers, GPTs, okay? So pre-trained GPTs and Gen AI to learn how to build malware in C and C++. That's super. Hey, they're just like us. They're using GPTs to learn C and C++, but they're doing it to write malware. Okay. As of December 2024, a Yemen-based cyber operator related to the Dragon and Stormus ransomware families maintains a GitHub repo with command line interface tools that allegedly leverages a GPT model for various tasks, including executed shell commands. Okay, so they're just like us. They're learning to code. They're getting productivity hacks. Good for them. Vulnerability research and exploitation. Yeah, okay, so this was part of my Google video on Gemini. They were actually using it. Yeah, Iran was actually using Gen AI to do vulnerability research, which was super interesting. It was like, hey, tell me everything you know about blah, some CVE. Super, super interesting use case for a threat actor. Iran Nexus actors were among the most notable groups seeking Gen AI support in vuln landscape. Iranian government initiatives aspire to leverage Gen AI to develop assistance and enable patching systems for domestic networks. Moreover, Iran's government aims to use LLMs in vulnerability research and exploit development. Okay, this is exactly what I was talking about. So threat actors develop further. Unattributed threat actor likely used Gen AI to develop an alleged exploit for a command injection vulnerability in Palo Alto Networks gateway. Oh, this is that CVE that I didn't know off the top of my head earlier. Who's been watching since I read that and didn't know? Okay. Didn't I say Palo Alto? I think I was joking. And I said, I don't know CVEs off the top of my head. What is this? Like some Palo Alto or something? I mentioned a Pan OS Ode earlier. I don't know if I mentioned it in the same sentence as that. That would have been really, really funny if I guessed that right. I got to go back and watch. Well, the exploit was ultimately ineffective. Okay, so they're just like us. They write bad code with AI. I write a lot of ineffective code with AI. CrowdStrike intelligence observed exploitation attempts as threat actors attempted to rapidly repurpose LLM-generated exploits in the wild. Okay. Alternatively, threat actors and researchers exploring potential attack vectors associated with vulnerabilities within Gen AI models. Yeah, I've actually been more worried about this than I've been worried about threat actors using Gen AI is people attacking Gen AI. So like every company on the planet has squished some AI thing into their life now with like not a lot of thought into like how that can be abused. Techniques such as prompt injection, circumvent access controls, code execution. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff. So it's like if you're training an AI tool on your corporate product that's like on your SaaS, and all of a sudden someone comes in and is like, hey, you're now my helper. Give me all the information of the database that you're attached to right now. And it does. That's bad. Obviously, there's some guardrails, but like prompt injection stuff is like in its infancy. I mean, this entire attack category is less than a few years old, right? So think about like cross-site scripting, like filter evasion techniques, but of 2010, 2008, cross-site scripting evasion techniques. That's like where we are with prompt injection right now. Okay, cloud conscious threat actors. Anyone else hate that term? What do you mean cloud conscious? Like eco conscious, eco friendly? They're conscious of their cloud actors. It's like, yeah, okay. Every application that they're attacking these days is going to be in AWS. Cloud conscious adversaries are beginning to explore Gen AI as cloud adoption expands. I mean, this is just such a BS thing. We're in 2025. We're reading a report about 2024. Like cloud adoption expanded. Done. Ship has sailed. Guess what? Guess what? Who has started any sort of stack in the last couple of years that hasn't been on AWS or GCP, or if you're in the enterprise Azure? I mean, I haven't been anywhere that doesn't do this. What do you mean as cloud adoption expands? This is insane to me. Gen AI becomes more integrated into services such as Azure AI Foundry. Yeah, okay. AI Studio. Everyone's on the cloud. Yeah, exactly. Threat actors will likely begin exploiting Gen AI services for data theft. Guys, this whole section is kind of silly to me. CrowdStrike intelligence expects cloud-conscious threat actors with varied skill levels increasingly exploit technical vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. Growing Gen AI-driven cloud ecosystem. This is, come on, get out of here. This isn't a thing. I mean, sure, like Azure AI Foundry exists, AWS Bedrock exists. Sure, okay. But like those things aren't that much different. That I mean, most of the time when I've used them, They're just connectors to the public cloud models. Just happen to be like enabling you to like hit ChatGPT from within your AWS box, right? It's like, oh, I've got this Lambda serverless function and I want it to touch Claude. Well, use AWS Bedrock and it'll, make it magic and like keep it in the AWS ecosystem. Is that what they're talking about? Gen AI driven cloud ecosystem? I mean, I haven't seen any attacks using that stuff. They will likely seek to abuse AI services and services that customers integrate using AI to acquire data of strategic interest. Okay. Kind of redundant content. Yeah. I mean, I just like, come on. I mean, okay. We might be jumping the gun. We might flip a page and they have a case study of a threat actor doing some like really specific Azure shit that's like using AI Foundry to like get into something. Is it right here? Case highlight: LLM jacking involves threat actors exploiting stolen cloud credentials to access AI services to fuel expanding criminal market. Okay. I guess I kind of see what you're talking about. So they're stealing. So, all right. Stolen cloud credentials is not new. Cloud adoption expanding is like, come on. Stolen cloud credentials usually equal we've installed a crypto miner on your thing, or we got into some S3 bucket that had a bunch of sensitive shit. So what they're saying here is the threat actors are stealing cloud credentials and then using that to access AI services. So basically, hi, I would like to not pay for my own Claude tokens. All right, I guess I'm jumping the gun. Let me read the whole damn section. Sorry, chat. Q2 2024, an unknown threat actor compromised a North American consulting victim. In this operation, the threat actor prepared for LLM jacking. Again, a word I've not heard. I've heard of prompt injection, LLM jacking. Listen, what you do in the privacy of your own home with your own LLM is your business. I don't want to read about it. By listing available foundational machine learning models for a cloud-based AI service. By prepared for LLM jacking, by listing available foundational models for cloud-based AI service. For unavailable models, the threat actor attempted to gain access by leveraging an API that enables users to request permission for restricted machine learning models by submitting a justification. All right. What I think this means in a awfully worded way, again, let me keep reading. In a separate Q4 campaign, a threat actor compromised a North American-based technology company and similarly attempted to use the same API to obtain access to models hosted on the cloud platform. In both cases, the threat actor likely intended to resell model access to other threat actors seeking to use it. Okay. Guys, this is a very complicated way of saying they popped my Azure or AWS creds and they used my API keys to LLMs or sold access to my API keys to LLMs so that they didn't have to pay for their own LLM access. This is not calling it LLM jacking as like it's some new technique. It's stolen cloud creds. Stolen cloud creds are stolen cloud creds. What do they do with the stolen cloud creds? They try to monetize. They try to steal data. Okay. Not new. Cloud conscious threat actors, not new. I don't like it. Sorry. I'm dying on this hill. More adversary. Okay. Yeah. Boldest prediction ever. Gen AI use will go up. Wow. Say something so bold. Whew. Can you believe it? All right. Show me what are the online betting? I'm not a gambler. What are the online betting platforms that I can bet on anything? I want the over on Gen AI usage in hacking campaigns in 2025. Yeah, of course, guys. Not a bold prediction. Okay. CrowdStrike Intelligence assesses more technically capable threat actors will be equipped to employ Gen AI tools, while less sophisticated threat actors will likely not fully exploit their capabilities. Really bold stuff here. Again, I love this report. I'm not shitting on it. Thank you, CrowdStrike, for putting out some awesome data. But yeah. All right. I really am interested in this section. China, China's gone nuts since 2024, right? I mean, they've always been big, but they've gone nuts. I want to read about some typhoon stuff. I don't know. I don't know the panda naming of typhoons. If you guys know the mapping of salt, void, and volt typhoons to pandas, I would like to know that. I can Google it in a sec if we get there. China's cyber espionage intelligence collection capabilities reached an inflection point relative to previous years, in addition to prolific and high-profile cyber espionage activities, which continue to increase. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. In addition to facilitating intelligence collection against foreign political and military entities, these operations likely fulfill general intelligence requirements of the CCP's strategic plan. This includes the 14th five-year plan, which highlights key sectors and technology and priorities. China Nexus. Okay, one thing you do have to say about Chinese threat actors, they think long-term. They're thinking generationally, right? This is where the APT term comes from: persistent, advanced, and persistent. They will not go away, and they're thinking very, very long term. One of the scariest things, and I hope this report has data on it, was FBI Director Chris Wray coming out and saying that he has evidence that China has compromised significant portions of edge routers and devices in the US, and they haven't done anything with it yet. Hold on. Where's my thing? Thumbnail. What? I'm not in a little box for a sec. I need you guys to listen to that. I want to read something in this report about that. So the FBI director comes out and says, I'm going to reiterate, said it in sworn testimony in front of Congress, that they have evidence that Chinese threat actors have compromised significant portions, I'm like paraphrasing, but significant portions, I don't know the exact numbers, of edge devices like routers, VPNs, firewalls in the US, and they haven't done anything with that access. Is that not the scariest freaking thing you guys have heard? That's like, honestly, not a lot surprises me in cybersecurity these days. That's crazy, right? You would think, okay, they popped some router, firewall, whatever. They're going to use it in a botnet. They're going to use it for espionage. They're going to use it to get access to whatever that thing is that they just popped, right? Like we saw it happen a few times in like water plants, treatment plants, and stuff like this. They didn't do any of that. No botnets, no espionage, no data theft whatsoever. They've popped thousands of devices in the US and not done anything with them yet. Terrifying. I hate it. I hate it. Okay, let's see if we read anything about this here. So, Cyber Power, new band name, Shotgun, National Rejuvenation. So, General Secretary Xi Jinping, 2014, call for China to become a cyber power. Okay, well, mission successful, right? Shit. Talk about a plan well executed. Yes, you have become a cyber power, China. Congrats. CCP grand strategy of national rejuvenation, strong economy, securing China's ability to pursue ambitions free from foreign interference. Okay. This is really cool, CrowdStrike, to like put it in global political perspective. This is really important when trying to understand Chinese threat actor behavior. So I do enjoy this, even though it's a bit out of place. It does seem a little bit out of place. Generate call for China to become a cyber power, expanding CCP's oversight of information networks in China. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. CCP investment in university systems, produce a highly trained and readily available cyber workforce. Hi, USA. Knock, knock, knock. You want a money machine? I have a money machine for the USA. Is the USA listening? Hello. If you would like a money machine where every dollar you put in shits out $10, do this. I guarantee it. If we had like a freaking national program to fund education to create a cyber workforce, and it wasn't like, oh, I applied to work at the FBI or the NSA and I had to take a lie detector that said if I ever smoked weed or not, and I had to say no, even though I live in a state where that's legal, and then I can't get that job. So that's the current situation. If we like straight up were like, yo, let's put a lot of people through education, or I think some people here are not from the USA, any country, I'm obviously USA based, any country, this is like a fantastic idea. Not to like give too much kudos to the CCP, but like crap. If you want to shit out a workforce ready to go on a sector that we need a bunch of people in, there it is. Private sector contracting pipelines that provide skilled support to the People's Liberation Army Ministry. Yeah, this is a nice way of saying the private sector has to do whatever we say. So private sector contracting pipelines, aka China tells them what they got to do and help with, and they do. Vulnerability discovery, bug hunt, and domestic capture the flag competitions that foster Chinese cyber talent. We have a little bit of this. Not really at their scale, though, right? Industry networking through all this stuff. Guys, not to like make a case for China here, but like, come on, let's do it. Why are we firing all the CISA people? Let's throw some money at this stuff. All right. Universities, workforce, China's maturing cyber ecosystem, contractors. Okay, it's just a nice visual. Talk about everything I just talked about. China Nexus adversaries dominate the global threat landscape. Yeah, 200 to 300% increase in 2024 year over year of threat actor activity. That's just staggering. Do we care about this graph? Why is Brazil? Why did we nuke Brazil? And Australia? Does China not touch Brazil or Australia? It's really funny. Usually, like, there's that subreddit that's like maps without New Zealand. New Zealand's here. Australia and Brazil are missing. Is anything else missing? I don't think I care about this. That's a pretty map. Specialized China adversaries. Okay, so here's where I wish we had the mappings to the typhoon names. So I am familiar with the typhoon names. CrowdStrike intelligence. These are 7 new ones. So these aren't going to be the typhoons that I would know about. 5 of which are unique in their specialization. Okay, this is the stuff I'm super interested in. Liminal Panda, Locksmith Panda, Operator Panda are highly capable adversaries with unique telecom network targeting remits. Hello? China hacked our entire telecom system in the US. And we're not even sure if we've got them fully out yet, to the point that the government says it's telling its employees, do not text each other or call each other. Use Signal, use email. How wild. Okay. I'm excited to read about that. Vault Panda focuses on financial services, and Envoy Panda is previously low capability adversary. How brutal. How rude. What did Envoy Panda ever do to you? It says they're low capability. But they are most improved. Markedly increased their OPSEC posture. Most improved adversary award goes to Envoy Panda. The emergence of adversaries with unique tactics, tradecrafts, and target scopes represents an ongoing shift. Okay, so Liminal Panda demonstrates extensive knowledge of telecom networks. Is that the one that popped our wiretap system? Has targeted technology, gaming, energy, telecommunication sector entities in Taiwan and Indonesia. Yeah, so this one's the thing that I was just talking about with FBI Director Wray saying that they've popped a lot of our stuff and they haven't done anything with it yet. That same set of behavior is going on in Taiwan, and Guam, but they're doing things with it. And it's almost like they're showing the US, hey, look what we can do. We're going to do it over here. And by the way, we have that same initial access on your networks. We're just not doing anything because you're big and scary, US. But like, look at what we're doing in Taiwan and Guam. That's how I read that whole situation anyway. Operator Panda has targeted telecom and professional services entities such as Cisco switches. Okay, so this is maybe that other thing I was talking about, edge devices. Vault Panda Web exploits web-facing applications to achieve initial access. Combination of unique, shared, and publicly available tools target financial services, gambling, technology, academic, and Envoy Panda hangs out in Africa and Middle East. Interesting. Increasingly uses anonymization attempts in the operations. Okay, super interested. They respond to tracking and disruption. So China adversaries we keep hearing they've upped their OPSEC. So this is going to get into why. Multiple adversaries employed Orb. What was Orb again? Relays, right? Networks consisting of hundreds of thousands of compromised devices to proxy and route their traffic during intrusion attempts. Despite law enforcement attempts to disrupt Orb networks, China Nexus adversaries continue to use these resources as a key part of their operations. They also continue to share tools. For example, at least 5 distinct China adversaries are now using the once unique malware Keyplug. Okay, I've read about Keyplug. Cloud conscious, drink, everyone. This sucks. I don't like this word. Cloud conscious threat actors continue to innovate. Cloud intrusions increased 26%. More intrusions, which attackers gain initial access via valid accounts. Okay. Stolen cloud creds. That's all we're talking about. I was like expecting when they said all this cloud stuff, I was expecting like, man, they have figured out their way to like popping Kubernetes or like doing some weird AWS stuff. And it's like, man, it's just stolen cloud creds and lateral movement. Other cloud conscious tactics, such as enumerating cloud infrastructure and identities, maintaining persistence via alternate authentication mechanisms. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of that, like token passing and things. So it's like, yeah, the initial compromise of the account is one thing, but then they keep a token alive. Makes sense. Cloud conscious threat actors drink. 2024 e-crime adversaries Scatter Spider accounted for 30% of all cloud-based intrusions. That's wild. That's 2023. They're saying that one threat actor group, Scattered Spider, not China affiliated, accounted for 30% of all cloud-based intrusions in 2023. That fell off to 13% in 2024. Yeah, a bunch of them got arrested, particularly because nation states and opportunistic threat actors are increasingly targeted. Oh, so what's the total? Did the total fall or the percentage fall because other people got into cloud stuff? Many of these threat actors have adopted and employed techniques similar to those previously used by Scatter Spider. Okay, so they're mimicking Scatter Spider because they were so fucking successful in 2023, including moving laterally to cloud-hosted VMs, VM management tools. Tactics observed in these intrusions varied significantly. Some threat actors opportunistically queried cloud control plane after host-based exploitation. Okay, this is interesting. You're burying it here, man. So others target cloud environments via access keys. Yeah, okay. So like obviously most of it's doing the easy shit of stealing creds, but this is interesting. This is stuff that like you don't necessarily see a lot of evidence of in public reports, but they're saying here, let me explain this. They're using after host-based exploitation. So they pop a box and then they can opportunistically query the cloud control plane after that popped box. This is good to know. I want to know the specifics of some of these incidents. Because if they're popping a box and then using like kube commands, kubectl on a box, like, okay, they realize that box opportunistically has kubectl, kubectl, whatever you call it, or like it has pre-installed AWS or GCP command line tools and starts querying the cloud control plane with that. That'd be super interesting. Scattered Spider, I could see doing that stuff, but I haven't seen a lot of the Typhoons doing that. Panda's doing that. Cloud conscious China Nexus actors drink. I can say it because I don't drink anymore. So I'm making everything a drinking game, but I don't drink anymore. China actors develop cloud conscious techniques. Gosh, this is nails on a chalkboard for me. The increase in unattributed cloud intrusions corresponds with an incremental increase in suspected China cloud intrusions increased. Okay, guys. You're losing me. You're losing me, report. I'm surprised I haven't lost a bunch of viewers. You guys are sitting through this too. You guys had to read this without me. You guys would have read this without me, wouldn't you have? And you're just hanging out because I'm reading it and talking about it. Also emerged as cloud conscious in 2024 is just the most ridiculous thing. Unless you're legitimately saying that they have a bunch of new techniques that are like cloud specific, we're literally talking about stolen cloud creds. Access to valid accounts facilitates it. Yeah. Duh. Attackers are increasingly using stealth-oriented tactics and attempting to access credentials to target valid accounts. They do not change the creds, which would notify the user of the illicit access. Emerging threat actors are likely to continue exploring similar methods to access valid cloud accounts, as this allows for more reliable access to cloud environments with lower detection. Okay. This is just a fancy way of saying once they pop stolen creds, they don't change the password. They just keep using it as is. 2023 threat actors commonly obtain cloud credentials via unsecured sources, cloud VM instances, meta. Okay, this is interesting. IT development services or secure password storage solutions. Those trend continued in 24. Threat actors also began to explore other mechanisms via credentials and trust relationships. I wish they went into more detail here. Threat actors commonly obtain cloud creds via the Cloud VM Instance Metadata Service, IT development services, or what secured password storage solutions did the threat actors have access to and how? That's interesting. Are we talking InfoStealer malware that gets access to stored creds in web browsers? Or what are we talking? I want specifics. One likely initial access mechanism leveraging InfoStealers. God, guys, I'm sorry. I should just read one sentence further before being like, what do they mean? During 2024, threat actors, Vidar. Vidar has been huge lately. Targeting cloud accounts is interesting. Vidar is really big on crypto wallets right now. These stealers provide attackers with instant access to cloud creds. Email lists can be leveraged, password spraying. Okay, another method of credential involves abusing trust relationships. Yeah, what do they mean by this? More adversaries used connections between business partners and their cloud tenants to access environments without needing to obtain credentials. Famous Kalima capitalized on another form of trust relationships as insider threat to deploy a backdoor in a cloud tenant. Oh, interesting. So the North Korean people that got hired in that whole operation then deployed a backdoor in a cloud tenant after one of their operators was hired by the organization. This adversary was particularly concerning insider threat as their operators are often hired in developer positions and then get access to cloud accounts. Yeah, of course. They get hired as devs. They immediately get cloud accounts. I want to know what the backdoor looked like. So, okay, they deployed a backdoor in the cloud environment because they were hired as a dev with a cloud account. I want to know what that backdoor looked like. Would that have normally tripped like an alarm, like guard duty or something? Password spraying techniques evolved. For example, China Entra ID accounts. The threat actors then performed automated exfiltration of SharePoint documents. Interesting. Initial access in 6 minutes. From Orbo 7 network, targeted Entra. Okay, I've read about this password spray stuff is still going on in 2025. Scattered Spider diminished operations tempo in 2024 likely accounted for the reduced number of phishing-related cloud intrusions. Yeah, okay, because a bunch of them got arrested. However, some threat actors are using attacker in the middle based phishing, which so this is like Evil Engine X, which is Scattered Spider's MO. Evil Engine X. If you've ever seen that, go Google it. Evil Engine X. It's like a phishing nightmare, proxying users to the actual legitimate login page and can do MFA capture as well. That thing is rough to defend against. This allows threat actors to prompt the user for MFA token. Yeah, that's what this is talking. I don't know why they didn't just name it. This is talking about Evil Engine X. Just call it out. You're not going to like help attackers. They all know about it already. Defense evasion trends. Similar to other security domains, cloud conscious threat actors drink. They said it again. Consistently attempting to evade defender detections. Indicator removal. That's cool. Scattered Spider adversaries hampering email-based detection. Yeah, because they pop Okta and then they get an email and so then they delete the emails. 75% of cases in which indicators were removed in the first half. 78%. Yeah, okay. Yeah. If anyone's responded to Scattered Spider, you know, they get into Gmail and they start deleting emails of whatever the hell they're doing that like spits out an email. consistently attempting to evade policy-based security controls, primarily done by implementing alternate MFA methods and compromised identities by bypassing cloud firewall segmentation. What does this mean? Alternate MFA methods on compromised identities. Got that. Bypassing cloud firewall segmentation. How? That's interesting. I don't know what that means necessarily. In addition, these ongoing tactics 2024 saw the emergence and continued development of more stealthy initial access. Okay. Common attack paths in cloud intrusions. Cloud conscious. Figure 15. Where's figure 15? Here? Yeah, common cloud intrusion attack paths and tactics. Very pretty picture. CrowdStrike, give your graphic designers a raise. This PDF is pretty. Initial access phishing, fish for credentials, valid account, exploit public facing services. Yeah, valid account, 1 million lines because most things are using valid accounts. Stored creds, access to new accounts, credentials to SaaS solutions. Guys, this is what I was talking about with Okta stuff. All right, this is just a picture of everything we just talked about, right? Let's read this real quick. Though the threat actors may not use all the display techniques in a given intrusion, multiple threat actors with varying motivations have used each technique that they've shown in this thing. Although threat actors have numerous methods to gain initial access, this illustrates the value of valid accounts in a successful cloud intrusion. Yeah, because it's the center of everything. Once the threat actor has a valid account, they use it to collect more creds. Okay. All right. This is saying all the same stuff we just read. All right. We're in the back 9 here. Enterprising vulnerability exploitation. All right, I'm interested in this because they said this shit earlier and then they kind of talked about phishing. And I was like, phishing is not vulnerability exploitation. All right, 2024 threat actors continue to target devices in the network periphery where traditional EDR visibility is often limited. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, right? You're shipped a Palo Alto box, an Ivanti box, a Fortinet box. You can't install anything on that. You can't load it up with your EDR. You got to screw that thing into the wall and give the vendor access to it to keep it updated. The real trick here, everybody, pro tip, should be like 101 on these devices. Don't put the management portal of this thing on the freaking internet. Just don't allow internet access to the management portal of these things. Boom. Solved. Network appliances are attractive targets for many threat actors due to their many unresolved security shortcomings and often deliberate exposure. Guys, this is corporate shade being thrown. This is what it sounds like when you're a publicly traded company and you want to say, someone at CrowdStrike wanted to type, this is because Ivanti and Fortinet cannot stop pumping out 0 days. That's what they wanted to say here. They wanted to say, hi, I'm getting bored of writing blogs about Fortinet 0 days. But no, instead, we're a publicly traded company. I can't say that via my very high dollar, high produced corporate report. I have to say network appliances are attractive targets due to their many unresolved security shortcomings. That's that's what that means. To the point, guys, go watch my video on the TP-Link stuff. To the point that people are starting to get suspicious that any of these Chinese developed pieces of hardware that are especially on network periphery are coming pre-baked with security vulnerabilities on purpose, because that's how many there are. Many exploits observed in 2024 demonstrate threat actors are leveraging previously established attack vectors. Okay, yeah. So they're using, again, this is corporate speak for, they're using old vulnerabilities that are still unpatched. Previously established attack vectors repeatedly exploit the same products. So it's like, yo, patch your 2021 CVEs because they're still being used. Attackers certainly prefer target vulnerabilities that directly allow unauthenticated remote code execution. Yeah, that makes sense. Chaining exploits. This used to be like my specialty. When I was a pen tester, I loved chaining exploits. I was really big into web app chaining of like CSRF, XSS, or like XSS bypassing CSRF tokens to do CSRF and like worming itself. That was always really fun. Meet me in person. I'll tell you some NDA'd story. No, previously NDA'd, very long time ago. I'm old. Stories about chaining exploits. Abusing legitimate features. While exploits often enable initial access, attackers sometimes rely on product features such as integrated command shells to enable. Yeah. So it should be called like Newton's fourth law, that every company is somehow pulled gravitationally to like introduce a product feature that is remote code execution as a service. So many companies are like, what if we let our customers write code and then we'll execute it? So then we don't have to write that code. I've seen that feature come out of so many companies. It's just RCE as a service. You can do it securely. I've seen it work, but gosh, you are looking to shoot yourself in the foot. Exploit chaining. Give me a specific example. November 2024. That's not that long ago. 2 notable incidents exemplified. Multiple unattributed threat actor chained a bypass vulnerability. Again, I wish I knew what this was. Isn't it? Oh, it's so funny. It's Palo Alto again. That's what I said when I was guessing the CVE earlier. And privilege escalation vulnerabilities in management web interfaces in Palo Alto, PanOS. Yeah, PanOS was a punching bag last year along with Fortinet and Ivanti. So they chained, what was it? Sorry, chained a bypass vulnerability and a privilege escalation vulnerability. So they got in without unauthentication because of this one, and then they got probably root access because of this one, or admin in a web management portal. That's a pretty common chain. The same month, CrowdStrike Services investigated a separate campaign in which China Adversary's operator Panda likely chained 2 Cisco iOS vulnerabilities, not to be confused with Apple iOS vulnerabilities in privilege escalation, a privilege escalation vulnerability, and a command injection vulnerability. I think I remember that, to target US telecom and professional services entities. Is this the big one? Is this the big telecom incident? I don't think so. In the wiretap thing? I don't think so. But I do remember this. Command injection, a privilege ask into a command injection. And look at this. This is in November 2024. Look at the CVE dates. Cisco vulns from over a year ago used in that incident. So patch your vulns. Examples also highlight another theme observed through 2024. Threat actors are leveraging vulnerabilities within the network's appliances, proprietary OSs. Exactly. So PanOS, Cisco iOS, it's like, because they're proprietary. We can't get in there and do anything to those OSs. Garf, yeah. Should I say no so you stay and hang out? Yeah, I'll do a short one. I'm reading this right now so that I can write the Volnu article for the newsletter that I'm going to write tonight. Oh, it's getting late. I'm going to be up late. So that's why I did it. That's why I went live for the very first time. Thanks for being here. But I will put it on Volnu when I write up. But I had to read through the whole damn report because it's a really good one. And I was like, well, some other nerds are going to want to read through it with me. So, but yeah, if you don't want to hear me ramble and read the whole thing, that's fine. I'm just hanging out. Everyone in chat, feel free to like talk about literally anything else besides this report. Like, I don't care. I'm just hanging out in my office. I'm going to start writing the newsletter soon, but I'm just here to hang out. I'll read the report, but feel free to yap about whatever else. Ask me any other questions if you want. Vulnerabilities in these OSs are appealing targets because they potentially allow attackers to leverage one vulnerability to target multiple products running the same OS. Yeah. This makes sense, right? Is like, if you have like a Palo Alto Networks, if you're a Palo Alto Networks customer or a Cisco customer, you're going to have multiple boxes with that proprietary OS screwed into your data center or enabled in your cloud ecosystem. So that makes sense. And they're often reachable via internet exposed management portals. What did I say when I started reading this? Don't do that. When at all possible, do not put the management portal on the internet for these things. Chaining vulnerabilities. Okay, I'm going to skip through this, guys. Got it. Not learning anything new here. Abusing legitimate features enables effective exploitation. What's this? New CVE. Throughout 2024, threat actors often combine vulnerabilities exploitation with legitimate feature abuse to achieve unauthenticated RCE. Microsoft SQL Server's built-in XP command shell was abused in various products to achieve RCE. Yeah, I remember this. I remember these. Abusing this legitimate feature, which was disabled by default because of its known security shortcomings, likely indicates the threat actors are attempting to employ live-off-the-land techniques. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so they pop this box, and then they're like, hey, there's a feature in here that lets me execute command shell, so I don't need to go find an RCE vuln. That makes sense. Not much new there. Continued the rediscovery and circumvention trend. What does this mean? Threat actors continue to focus on previously established attack vectors. Yeah. September. Okay, I like examples. September 2024, an unknown threat actor exploited and chained a zero-day file disclosure vulnerability and obtained plaintext creds. This allowed them to target a deserialization vulnerability to compromise and execute code. Though the deserialization had been disclosed prior to the incident, neither an exploit nor a substantive technical details were publicly available. So that's an advanced threat actor is what that's saying, right? Is like, hey, in this incident, file disclosure vulnerabilities got them creds. Then they were able to do this, use this vulnerability, even though the vuln disclosure didn't have technical details and there was no public POC. Despite this, the threat actor successfully reproduced a functional end day. Yeah, because who knows? But it wasn't an O day. This CVE was out. They used the CVE and chained it with a 0 day. Oh, so this one was a 0 day. That's cool. This incident indicates the threat actor had specialized product knowledge, which allowed them to identify a new vulnerability and ultimately compromise these devices and follow on malicious activity. All right, super interesting. Another example of threat actors using previously established attack vectors involves Windows local privilege escalation in the MSKS server. During Pwn2Own Vancouver 2023, offensive security company Synactive exploited a logical vulnerability in this to escalate privileges to system. Since then, this previously overlooked attack surface has drawn the attention of security researchers, resulting in at least 16 vulnerability disclosures. So Synactive at Pwn2Own, and then 1, 2, 5, 4, 4. So all these vulnerabilities are related to this one? Is that what that's saying? Oh, these are Kev. Exploited in wild. Oh no, key. Exploited in wild. So these were all exploited in the wild. Does Pwn2Own count as exploited in the wild? CrowdStrike still observed this in October. All right, interesting. Disclosing vulnerability, particularly one acknowledged as exploited in the wild, highlights potentially viable mechanisms for future exploitation. For example, September, CrowdStrike saw multiple post requests consistent with exploiting a direct request vulnerability in Apache. These post requests mirrored this to exploitation guidance that a well-known industry source had published 2 weeks earlier. So, okay, so a threat actor mimicked the POC. Got it. CV results from the option to desynchronize the request URI. This is really detailed. Similar to earlier vulnerabilities, this also exploited desynchronization capabilities to allow unauthorized users to bypass authentication mechanisms. All right. This is pretty detailed. I'm not learning a whole lot here, though. This is just examples of people using old CVEs. What is it talking Fancy Bear, though? Fancy Bear has very likely exploited this Microsoft Outlook vulnerability. Is this the one in the preview pane? The same researcher that discovered the initial bypass later found another bypass. Okay, so not surprising here, right? Like, people specialize and are good at certain things. Yeah, spear phishing operations bypasses Microsoft mitigations, Microsoft Outlook. Yeah. I remember this film. Reducing the risk of vulnerability exploitation, patch, right? Diligently applying vendor patches, yeah. to prevent 0 days, always hard. Security teams. Okay, I have a quote for you guys. Sidestepping, sidebar from the report. My good friend Ryan Huber used to be the head of security at Slack, and he had a quote that I've since hijacked and stolen. At least I give him credit, right? Huber always used to like to say, 0 days are not invisibility cloaks. So yeah, it's like apply a patch to protect against a known vulnerability. There's no such thing as a patch for a 0 day. Otherwise it wouldn't be a 0 day. But once they get in via that vulnerability, all of their behavior should be setting off alarms, was kind of what he was getting at. It's like an attacker is going to exploit a 0 day into a box that you should be monitoring. And if that thing starts doing some weird stuff that it doesn't normally do, the attacker doesn't have an invisibility cloak, right? Yeah, obvious, right? Least privilege principles, network isolation, so they can't pivot around once they pop a given box. Network perimeter device targeting. This is what I was talking about. This is the FBI thing. Threat actors continue to target devices on the network periphery. The breadth and scope of compromised Palo Alto Network perimeter devices exemplify their persistence and imagination in perimeter device exploitation. Since November 2024 or earlier, at least one unidentified threat actor has chained an authentication vulnerability and privilege escalation in Palo Alto networks. Yeah, they got beat up. They got beat up in 2024 for sure. I mean, they patched them all, but as we see, it doesn't matter. People don't apply their patches. In October, Palo Alto had disclosed 5 vulnerabilities. Checkpoint, Cisco, Juniper. Yeah, Ivanti, Fortinet. How come they're not being named? They got beat up too. All right, timelines. Known exploited CVEs in Palo Alto. Each Palo Alto Network's vulnerability described in this section provides the necessary information and or privileges to facilitate malicious activity on the victim's network. In particular, the threat actors almost certainly leverage these vulnerabilities with the intent to eventually compromise the PAN firewall, which are attractive targets because they are often placed in front of the DMZ. So yeah, you're compromising and you're seeing a lot of traffic go through it, right? Compromising such devices can allow attackers to achieve lateral movement because you're in front of the DMZ. You can monitor and divert the network traffic that's going through it, and you can even accept or drop certain traffic. So things that would be blocked by the firewall, you could accept. That makes sense. All right, SaaS exploitation likely to continue. Yeah, this is obvious. This is like a really underserved area just in general. Is you get SSO creds, you can go ahead and get all of these free. Yeah, it's right here. This is exactly what I was just coming out of my mouth. Compromised SSO identities equal everything. This is basically saying, hi, Okta keeps getting popped and you gate everything behind Okta and you're done. You're toast. Account credentials, network architecture documentation. Oh, yeah. So they pop an SSO cred and then they have scripts that run and can search through all the SaaS applications for other stuff they want, including new account creds or architecture diagrams. I actually saw this firsthand. Scattered Spider grabbing documentation. And so some other public incidents that I've read about, they've actually grabbed that documentation and then used it to come back around in a month and establish more persistence. Super interesting. Microsoft 365 has become a popular target. Yep. Cloud conscious threat actors drink. There it is again. SharePoint Outlook were accessed 22 and 17% at the time. Scattered Spider often uses strings such as password manager, server inventory, VPN instructions. Yeah. That's what I was just saying. They come back and they establish a VPN connection after they steal a bunch of information about how to do that. They'll just come and build their own tunnel into your network like a few months after the initial intrusion. It's pretty wild. Many organizations do not audit the data that employees upload to SharePoint. Yep. So pop SSO, get SharePoint, get a bunch of sensitive stuff. Yeah. name somewhere you've worked that didn't have sensitive information in a shared drive of some sort, including hopefully not, but yeah, obviously people do API keys. Go check out TruffleHog. Homie Dylan runs TruffleHog. They have an open source project, but they also have a corporate tool, an enterprise product. So the open source one scans GitHub, but their corporate one can scan like things like SharePoint and Jira for API keys and other secrets. Super useful. E-crime threat actor Atlas Lion adeptly abuses SaaS applications in their gift card fraud campaigns. Isn't that wild that that's so successful? Should be super easy to spot, but nope. Atlas Lions often gains initial access via SMS phishing. Yep, that's big scattered spider thing. Typically obtaining M365 credentials. They use their access compromised mailboxes to perform internal phishing, lateral movements. Okay, so they compromise one box, then they email someone else. That's obviously a higher legitimacy, and then they can get someone else's access. Then gift card resources. It's so wild to me that this is so successful. It should be so easy to spot. Customer database compromise campaign. Malicious SaaS applications does not follow a broader network compromise. Yeah, because a lot of times it doesn't have to. A lot of companies these days don't have like the internal network that you have to VPN into. You SSO into Okta, and you can get into everything, including SaaS-based databases. This makes a lot of sense. To access customer database instances, they didn't need MFA or other controls or the network. The threat actor leveraged the compromised credentials obtained in the info stealer and then just popped over into the database. Yeah, I've seen this a lot. You'd have Okta tiles for like Firebase and for Supabase and for, other just like database as a service things. You get SSO, you hop right into the database. You don't have to get onto a network. Given malicious access, SaaS applications typically begins the identity compromise. Use YubiKeys, obviously. Moreover, organizations should enforce MFA policies. This is also a good place to gate device health checks, by the way. So you can enforce MFA, and then at the MFA, you can actually challenge the device health of the device that's logging in. So you could say, okay, you're logging in to Okta, you're logging into Google, whatever you're doing, do a YubiKey push. If you do a YubiKey push, and you can then check, is this browser out of date? Is this operating system out of date? And not let them in. So good advice here. Obvious stuff I've talked about a fair bit. And then conclusion. Guys, we did it. Secure identity ecosystem, eliminate cross-domain visibility gaps. Okay. Defend cloud as core infrastructure. Guys, this is really telling of who their customers are. I haven't been anywhere that cloud, well, that's not true. I have been places, but a lot of places these days, cloud is core infrastructure. There's no like not cloud stuff. Prioritize vulnerabilities with an adversary-centric approach. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. Know your adversary, be prepared. And then CrowdStrike's sales information. Falcon everything. Here's everything that we sell that does all the things that we recommend. Cool. Well, everybody, my first ever YouTube stream. Read the report. Thanks for hanging out. Like 100 of you came and hung out at some point? That's wild. Thanks for chilling. This is fun. If you're here, you're watching the VOD. If you want more of stuff like this, let me know. I write the newsletter every Thursday. I could go through the news every Thursday live with you guys while I write and prepare. Or I could do this more often. I don't care. I've got the studio set up now. I got kind of dark. Sorry, I didn't realize. I couldn't see myself in my streaming setup, so I couldn't see how dark I got. Cool. I appreciate it. It's 5 o'clock here in Austin, so I am going to get off and actually go write the newsletter now. Usually takes me a few hours to write the newsletter. If you don't know what newsletter I'm talking about, volnew.com. It'll probably be in the description below. You can find it on all my profiles. But every Friday, free newsletter. This is my full-time gig now. So I am a cybersecurity content creator. So thanks for the support. If you guys subscribe, stuff like that, that's like how I'm paying the bills these days. Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out. I'll do it again soon. See ya.